Sometimes life will shatter you in ways you never expected. People walk away, your heart feels heavy, and it seems like you've lost yourself in the chaos. But do you know what's beautiful? When everything around you is falling apart, Allah is quietly rebuilding you piece by piece into something far stronger than before. You didn't lose yourself, you were just being redirected, and in that darkness, you finally found Allah. That is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of a divine transformation. My brothers and sisters, sometimes your heart has to break for your soul to wake up. Allah allows pain not to punish you, but to pull you closer. When everything in your life feels shattered, when the people you trusted leave, when the plans fall apart, when the tears don't stop, that's not the end. That's where healing begins. You see, the moment your heart breaks, Allah hears every silent cry. He knows what you carry even if no one else does. And while the world may not understand your wounds, Allah is already preparing a healing that's better than anything you've lost. Your brokenness is not a weakness. It's a sign that your heart is still alive and that Allah wants to fill it with something greater than before. So be patient, the healing is already on its way. My brothers and sisters, many times we feel abandoned. We think no one understands us. We sit in silence, feeling broken, thinking nobody sees the tears we cry behind closed doors. But the truth is, you were never alone. Not for a single moment. Even when the world walked away, Allah stayed with you. Even when your heart whispered in pain, Allah heard it before you spoke. His mercy surrounded you, even when you didn't feel it. You see, Allah is closer than anyone, closer than your thoughts, closer than your own breath. He doesn't leave you when you fall. In fact, He comes closer. So don't ever say, I'm alone. Say instead, Allah is with me, because His presence brings peace, even in the storm. My beloved sisters, sometimes you have to reach the lowest point in your life before you can truly rise. When she hit rock bottom, it felt like everything was over, the pain, the betrayal, the loss, the silence. But what she didn't realize was that Allah was not punishing her. He was preparing her. Rock bottom wasn't the end. It was the place where she finally let go of this world and turned fully to her Rabb. That moment when she thought she had nothing left was the moment Allah gave her everything she truly needed: strength, faith, and a heart full of purpose. You see, the lowest point in your life might just be the place where your biggest transformation begins. Don't fear the fall. Sometimes that fall is what brings you straight into the arms of Allah. My dear sisters, sometimes the world will turn its back on you. People stop calling. Friends walk away. Even family may lose patience. But that doesn't define your worth. Because while the world gives up, Allah never does. His mercy is not like theirs. He waits patiently for you to come back. And when you do, He welcomes you with love, not judgment. She made mistakes, yes. She lost her way, yes. But that didn't mean her story was over. People whispered behind her back. They labeled her, they mocked her, they moved on. But Allah, He still believed in her return. One sincere tear, one heartfelt dua, and she was already on her way back to His mercy. When people judge you, they see your past. But when Allah guides you, He sees your potential. This sister was left behind by everyone. She was broken and tired. But Allah never needed perfection. He only wanted her to turn back. And the moment she did, the doors of His mercy opened wider than ever. The world measured her by her scars, but Allah looked at her heart. Others saw a failure. Allah saw a believer in the making. The world said, she's too far gone, but Allah said, my door is always open. That's the beauty of Islam. Your comeback can be greater than your fall. She sat alone many nights, wondering if Allah still loved her. She thought her sins had pushed her too far. But even in that silence, Allah was calling her through pain, through regret, through longing. His love doesn't fade when you fall. In fact, it grows when you rise again, seeking Him. She didn't need the world's approval to find peace. She needed to reconnect with her Creator. Once she turned to the Quran, once she placed her forehead in sujood, the healing began. What the world couldn't give her: acceptance, forgiveness, peace, Allah gave it in an instant. They said she changed too late, but they forgot that Allah accepts repentance until the final breath. She returned with sincerity, and Allah in His mercy erased years of pain, mistakes, and distance just like that. That's how powerful a single step toward Him can be. People are quick to cancel others, but Allah doesn't cancel anyone who seeks Him. This sister's heart carried guilt. She thought she wasn't worthy anymore. But Allah reminded her through His book, do not despair of my mercy. And that reminder brought her back from the edge. She thought she was too damaged to be loved by Allah. But she was wrong. Allah loves the broken who come to Him humbly. Her past did not define her future. It became the reason she truly submitted. And what she gained with Allah was far greater than anything she lost with people. Her comeback didn't need a crowd. It didn't need applause. It just needed a sincere heart. Allah saw that heart full of regret, full of hope, and that was enough. While the world closed its doors, Allah opened His without hesitation. In her weakest moment, when no one believed in her, Allah called her by name in the quiet of the night. Through pain, He woke her. Through loss, He softened her. And through loneliness, He brought her back to the one who never left. The whispers of shaitan tried to convince her, you're too far gone. But Allah's words whispered louder in her soul, my mercy encompasses all things. And that was her sign. That was the rope she held onto when everything else had slipped away. She wore a smile outside, but inside she was drowning. No one noticed, no one asked, but Allah knew. And it was through those private moments of breakdown that He planted the seeds of her return quietly, gently, perfectly. You see, the world writes people off too quickly, but Allah's mercy writes them into Jannah. This sister's journey back was not easy, but with every small step she took toward Allah, He came running toward her with ease, forgiveness, and love. Her sujood became her secret place of peace. Every tear that fell on the prayer mat was seen. Every dua, every whisper, every silent cry, it was all recorded, all valued, all answered. While the world forgot her, Allah never stopped listening. She didn't need perfection to return to Allah. She just needed intention. And once she took that first step, leaving behind old habits, old environments, Allah replaced every loss with something better. That is His promise to those who sincerely come back. They looked at her past and judged, but Allah looked at her heart and forgave. And in that forgiveness, she found her strength. She was no longer seeking approval from people. She only sought the pleasure of the one who created her. Her pain became her turning point. What seemed like punishment was actually protection. Allah removed people, places, and paths that were hurting her. And though it felt like loss, it was actually mercy. It was His way of calling her back to something greater. She realized that Allah had never stopped loving her. Even when she forgot Him, He didn't forget her. Even when she walked away, He didn't close the door. And when she returned, not perfect, but sincere, Allah accepted her fully. So now, when people say she's changed, she smiles. Because they don't know what it took. They don't know how Allah held her through the storm. She's not who she was. And that's the mercy of her Lord. The world gave up, but Allah rebuilt her into someone even better. My brothers and sisters, real strength isn't shown by how loud you are or how many people praise you. It's shown by what you do when no one sees you. Sujood, your prostration, is where broken hearts are healed. It's where burdens are released and true strength is born. You may walk out of sujood carrying the same problems, but never with the same weakness. When the world feels heavy and words fail you, don't stay silent. Go into sujood. That's the language of the heart. You don't need fancy du'as or perfect Arabic. All you need is a sincere heart that says, Ya Allah, I need you. In that moment, you are stronger than you've ever been. People often ask, how can I be strong? I tell them, build your strength on your prayer mat. Every sujood you make is you admitting weakness to the only one who can give you strength. You're not losing by bowing down. You're rising with every prostration. There are moments in life when nothing makes sense. The pain is silent. The fear is hidden. That's when sujood becomes your lifeline. It's in that quiet moment with Allah that your inner strength is restored. You rise not because the problems disappeared, but because your connection to the Almighty deepened. A powerful woman isn't the one who hides her pain. She's the one who pours her pain into sujood and leaves it there. That's where transformation happens. Her face may carry sorrow, but her heart is full of light because she spoke to the one who controls all affairs. You could have cried alone, but you chose to cry in sujood. You could have held everything inside, but instead you whispered it to Allah. That choice, that small act is where your strength was born. Because when you turn to Allah, He turns your weakness into power. Your silence may hide your struggles from people, but it doesn't hide them from Allah. He already knows. But when you go into sujood and talk to Him even silently, you're inviting His help. That's when your strength is no longer yours, it becomes divine support. Sometimes you don't need to say a word in sujood. Just your presence on the ground is a statement. I'm weak, but you are strong. I'm lost, but you are my guide. That is power. That is strength. Not in shouting, but in surrendering to the one who sees your heart. We live in a world that tells us to stay strong by pretending nothing hurts. Islam teaches us something better. Real strength is in turning to Allah with everything that hurts. Sujood is the safest place to collapse because that's where your soul is lifted. She didn't post about her pain. She didn't shout. She just cried in sujood. And that made her stronger than most because her reliance wasn't on people, it was on Allah. And anyone who turns to Him is never left empty. You don't always need solutions. Sometimes you just need peace. And the prayer mat offers exactly that. Sujood gives your soul room to breathe. When you bow down, you're not giving up. You're giving it to the one who never fails. You want strength? Pray. You want peace? Prostrate. You want to stop pretending to be okay? Open your heart to the one who already knows. That's sujood, where Allah waits for you to return and renew your power through Him. Silence in front of people may be wise, but silence in front of Allah is different. Even your quiet sujood speaks volumes. Every moment your forehead touches the ground, you're saying, I trust you more than anything I'm facing. Sometimes she prayed with shaking hands, sometimes with a tired heart, but every sujood, no matter how weak, was accepted. Because Allah doesn't look at your strength in prostration, He looks at the sincerity in your heart. You may not have the answers, you may not feel strong, but if you can still fall into sujood, you are already winning. Because real strength isn't about feeling unbreakable, it's about knowing who to turn to when you're broken. Her voice trembled in dua. Her tears fell. Her hands shook. But she still bowed down. That was courage. The courage to keep speaking to Allah even when she didn't have the words. Sujood was her shelter and Allah was her strength. Every hardship brought her closer to the ground, not in defeat, but in devotion. Sujood wasn't weakness, it was power disguised as surrender. With every tear she left on the prayer mat, she stood up a little stronger than before. In this world, people will tell you to be silent, to be tough, to be numb, but Allah invites you to be soft, to be real, to open your heart. That's what sujood is, for a sacred space to fall apart and be rebuilt by His mercy. True strength doesn't come from ignoring your pain. It comes from facing it in prayer. It comes from crying in sujood and saying, Ya Allah, I can't do this without you. That is when Allah places strength in your heart, not just for today, but for life. My brothers and sisters, remember this. When life pushes you to the ground, fall into sujood. Let your lowest moment be your closest moment to Allah. In that position of submission, your heart will rise, your soul will breathe, and your strength will return greater than before. My beloved brothers and sisters, sometimes Allah allows you to lose everything, even yourself, so you can find what truly matters, Him. When your plans fail, when your identity feels lost, when nothing brings peace, that's not the end. That's Allah redirecting your soul back to where it always belonged. It may feel like loss, but it's actually mercy. You might think you've lost yourself, but Allah knows exactly where your heart is. The world will confuse you. People will change you. But when you finally pause and ask, where is Allah in my life? That's when the healing begins. Getting lost in the world is what brings you back to your Lord. She no longer recognized who she had become. The laughter wasn't real. The confidence was empty. But that emptiness was the key. It pushed her back to Allah. Losing herself was the best thing that ever happened because it made her fall in love with her Creator again. You see, Allah sometimes takes away your comfort, your routines, even your confidence. Why? Because He knows you're capable of something deeper. He knows your soul needs Him more than it needs anything else. Losing yourself may feel like chaos, but it often leads to clarity. The heart wanders. It attaches itself to things, to people, to dreams, and when those things break, we break too. But Allah uses that moment, that confusion, that heartbreak to remind you, return to me. That reminder is a mercy you didn't see coming. She thought she needed to find herself in the world in success, appearance, acceptance, but none of it gave her peace. Only when she turned to Allah slowly, honestly, did she feel found. And in that moment, she realized losing herself was just the beginning of something greater. We chase this life trying to figure out who we are. We try to please everyone. And when it all falls apart, we panic. But Allah uses those moments of breakdown to guide you. When the world stops making sense, turn to the one who created you. He knows your true self. Sometimes the identity you built wasn't real. It was made of what others expected, not what Allah wanted for you. So He allows it to crumble, not to harm you, but to reshape you. That's mercy in disguise. He doesn't just find you, He redefines you. She lost the version of herself that was tired, distant, confused. And yes, it hurt. But in her loss, she gained something priceless, a heart closer to Allah, a mind more peaceful, a soul more alive. It wasn't a breakdown. It was a divine reset. Don't be afraid of starting over. When Allah removes things from your life, He is not breaking you, He's rebuilding you. Sometimes He lets you lose your way so you can find a better one with Him at the center of your heart. You may not recognize yourself anymore, but that's okay. If the old you was distant from Allah, then losing that version is a blessing. Allah replaces confusion with guidance, weakness with strength, and distance with closeness. The world said she changed, and she did not for them, but for Allah. She was lost in the noise of people's opinions, but when she tuned into the silence of her soul, she heard Allah calling her back. Losing herself gave her the courage to return. We often avoid pain, but sometimes it's through pain that Allah pulls us in. He lets life shake us so we stop holding on to what doesn't matter. What feels like losing yourself is sometimes the beginning of your most sincere connection with Allah. In the middle of her confusion, she cried, "Ya Allah, who am I now?" And that was the turning point. Not when she had answers, but when she turned to Allah with the question. That moment of surrender is where her strength was reborn. Losing yourself doesn't mean you failed, it means you're growing. Allah sometimes takes away what you thought defined you to give you something better, an identity grounded in faith, peace, and sincerity. That's the version of you that He loves most. She tried everything, books, advice, distractions, but still felt empty. Only when she opened the Quran, sat in quiet prayer, and cried to Allah did she feel found. It wasn't therapy that healed her first, it was tawbah. The best version of you is the one closest to Allah. If losing yourself brought you there, then thank Allah for that journey. It wasn't destruction, it was transformation. What looked like the end was actually a new beginning. Don't fear being lost. Fear being distant from Allah. If your pain led you back to salah, to dua, to tears in sujood, then you didn't lose, you returned. And returning to Allah is the greatest success of all. She doesn't look the same, she doesn't talk the same, but that's because she changed for the better. And even though people miss the old her, she doesn't. Because this version found peace, and peace is only found with Allah. My brothers and sisters, sometimes we must be broken to be rebuilt. Sometimes we must get lost to be found by the one who knows our every tear. Losing yourself for the sake of finding Allah is not a failure, it's a gift wrapped in patience, pain, and purpose. My beloved sisters, the pain she went through wasn't placed in her life to destroy her. It was placed there to elevate her. What she thought were obstacles were actually bridges that would lead her closer to Allah. Every tear, every hardship was not a punishment but a path forward. Sometimes we look at trials and think, why me? But Allah knows what you don't. Her trial wasn't a wall to stop her, it was a step to raise her. She didn't fall apart, she fell into place. And Allah guided her every step, even when she couldn't see the direction. She could have stopped praying, she could have lost hope. But instead she used the trial to find strength in Allah. That's what makes the difference. A believer doesn't get stuck in pain, she builds from it. Her trial became the reason she rose higher. The world saw her struggle and thought she was falling. But Allah saw her struggle and knew she was growing. Every challenge she faced pushed her to pray more, to rely more, to love Him more. Her pain became her path. Sometimes we ask Allah for elevation, not realizing that the climb begins with a storm. Her hardship was heavy, yes, but it didn't bury her. It built her. With every difficulty, she learned something new about herself, about patience, about Allah. Her hardship didn't block her blessings. It prepared her for them. Sometimes Allah delays ease so that your heart is ready to carry it with gratitude. Her test wasn't the end. It was just the construction of a new beginning. She didn't walk through her trial alone. Allah was with her at every turn. Even when people abandoned her, when the world stopped understanding her, He never left. And through that closeness, she found a strength that no human could have given her. The pain taught her what peace really means. The tears showed her the beauty of dua. The loneliness brought her closer to the Quran. None of it was wasted. Her trial was not just a burden, it was a turning point in her faith. It would have been easy to give up, but she didn't. Why? Because somewhere deep inside she believed in Allah's plan. And that belief, even if small, turned her test into a journey. She kept walking, and the bridge kept forming beneath her feet. The people around her saw a storm, but Allah was building a bridge. She cried, but those tears watered her growth. She stumbled, but her sujood held her firm. She rose, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. Trials don't always come to punish you. Sometimes they come to wake you. She had forgotten her purpose. Life was passing quickly. But then the hardship came, and she turned back to Allah, not with fear, but with love. Her difficulty didn't close doors, it opened the right ones. She stopped chasing people and started chasing Jannah. She stopped depending on the world and started depending on Allah. And that shift changed everything. She learned patience, not from comfort, but from pain. She learned tawakkul not when things were easy, but when everything felt uncertain. Her trial became her teacher, and Allah became her guide. That is the mercy within every hardship. Some people go through trials and become bitter, but she chose to become better. She chose to hold on to hope, to keep praying, to keep going, and Allah honored that. Because those who trust Him during the storm are given light after it. What others saw as setbacks were actually divine setups. She didn't know it at the time, but every hardship was aligning her path. She wasn't being blocked, she was being redirected. And that direction was better than what she had planned. She used her pain to build dua. She used her losses to gain nearness to Allah. While the trial was heavy, her heart became light because Allah gave her peace that only the tested ones understand. It wasn't a curse, it was a calling. She thought she was being slowed down, but in reality she was being protected. Sometimes trials come not to break you, but to shield you from worse. And in that protection, Allah allows growth that could only happen through hardship. Her life didn't go as planned, but it went exactly as Allah intended. The things she lost were replaced with better. The people who left were replaced with peace. And her heart, once shattered, became filled with purpose. The beauty of her story wasn't that she never struggled, it was that she turned every struggle into worship. She didn't wait for ease to be grateful. She chose gratitude in the middle of the pain. And that gratitude built her bridge. My dear sisters, always remember, what looks like a barrier today may be the very bridge to your best tomorrow. Trust the plan of Allah. Let every trial bring you closer. Because when He tests you, He's inviting you to rise. My beloved brothers and sisters, the dunya will always promise happiness, but it never lasts. She chased success, attention and love, but was left empty. That emptiness was not a failure. It was a gentle push from Allah, calling her back. When dunya disappoints, it's because only Allah can truly satisfy the soul. She gave her best to people who didn't value her. She put her heart into things that didn't last. And when everything broke, she sat with her pain, but in that silence, she felt something greater, the embrace of her Lord. Dunya failed her, but Allah welcomed her. The dunya keeps telling us, just a little more and you'll be happy. But that little more never ends. She learned that the hard way. But when she turned to Allah, He gave her peace without needing more. That's the beauty of His embrace. It heals what dunya never can. She thought dunya would complete her, a perfect life, happy people, no problems. But when those dreams fell apart, she found something greater. She found closeness to Allah. And that closeness was worth more than anything this world could offer. When she cried for things that dunya took from her, she didn't realize Allah was replacing them with something eternal. Her sadness led her to sujood. Her pain became her prayer. And slowly, Allah replaced her losses with light. People made her feel unworthy. Situations drained her energy. Life didn't turn out how she expected, but she stopped searching outside. She turned inward and upward. And in that moment, she found the sweetness of Allah's love. The world didn't break her, it revealed her. It showed her how strong she could be with Allah by her side. Every door dunya shut, Allah opened one in her heart. She stopped chasing approval and started chasing the pleasure of her Rabb. She once thought love was found in people, but people left. She once thought peace was found in success, but success faded. And then she found Allah always near, always listening, always forgiving. That's when she truly began to live. When dunya disappoints, it teaches. It shows you who truly matters. She once felt surrounded by noise. Now she sits quietly with the Quran, and her heart feels full, because Allah's embrace speaks louder than the world ever could. They told her, move on, stay strong, but she didn't want empty strength. She wanted meaning, she wanted truth. And she found it not in the world's advice, but in the words of her Creator. That was the shift from heartbreak to divine healing. She felt invisible in a world that only sees beauty, fame, and success. But Allah saw her sincerity, He saw her effort, He knew her pain, and in that moment of isolation, He pulled her close. Dunya turned away. Allah leaned in. She stopped asking, why did this happen? And started asking, what is Allah teaching me? That change in her heart brought peace. Her pain became her path. The world wounded her, but Allah wrapped her in comfort. Dunya made her feel replaceable. But with Allah, she felt chosen. Every loss in this world reminded her that this life is temporary. What's real, what's lasting, is the connection she built in sujood, in tears, in remembrance. They disappointed her. The job, the friends, the dreams, all of it. But that disappointment led to reflection. And that reflection led to dua. And that dua opened the door not to what she wanted, but to what she truly needed. She once searched for happiness in faces, places, and things, but nothing lasted. And when she gave up, she gave in to Allah. That surrender didn't break her, it rebuilt her. That was the beginning of her peace. The dunya will always take more than it gives, but Allah gives more than we ask. She went from being drained by the world to being recharged by her faith. Every day that she chose Allah over the world, her heart grew stronger. Sometimes disappointment is the doorway to discovery. She thought her best days were behind her. But when she found Allah, she realized the best had only just begun. The world made her feel forgotten. Allah reminded her that she was never alone. Her pain didn't disappear overnight, but it became lighter. Why? Because now she carried it with Allah. No longer blaming the world. No longer angry at herself. Just walking in calmness toward her Lord's mercy. She used to plan her life around people's expectations. But now she builds her life around salah. She wakes up for tahajjud, not texts. She smiles for Jannah, not for photos. This is what happens when you trade dunya's lies for Allah's truth. My dear sisters, when the world breaks your heart, don't let it define you. Let it direct you toward the one who never lets go. From dunya's disappointment to Allah's embrace is the most beautiful journey your soul can take. My dear sisters, remember your pain was not wasted. Allah saw the nights you cried, the prayers whispered through brokenness, the strength it took just to keep going. You were never truly lost, you were being led. Sometimes it takes being broken to understand your real strength comes from Him. So walk forward now, not in fear, but in faith. Because the woman who finds Allah has already found everything. May Allah bless you, heal you, and raise you higher than ever before. Ameen.